Hey team, welcome to the Charge Forward Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Cripps, coming to you live from the Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I have a special guest with me, Mr. Nick Hyder, rock star, marketer, podcaster, and family man. Nick, how are we doing today?
I'm unstoppable, brother, as always. And you know, when you ask me that, that's what I'm going to say, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, man, we're here in your studio, and it's beautiful. And, I think I met you almost 2 years ago because of our mutual friend, Mr. Randy Huth.
That's right.
A lot of things have changed since then.
No doubt.
You got a lot going on. What you got going on?
Well, what's today? Thursday. Where would you want to start, man? We got the three things. I got asked this question yesterday. What am I focused on most for the rest of 2024? Well, the first thing is, we've got a big keynote tour coming up that we're starting to unveil some information about. That's one thing that's going to be a big focus for the rest of the year. A project that I'm working on with you concerning data records, CRM targeting, and some AI development in that. And then obviously the things that we're doing out there with Coach Bert at the Greatness Factory. We got some big renovations happening here, as a matter of fact, which is going to be really cool. So aside from running the everyday businesses that we do, those are the three things, like fourth quarter of 2024, that I'm really going to be focused on getting to the finish line.
And those are no small projects.
No.
Each one of them, many people would just, be daunted by the task.
No doubt.
But you're absolutely taking them in stride.
Yes, sir. Well, some days are better than others. Yesterday, probably not my best day, but today's a new one, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for what I learned yesterday, and we move on.
Absolutely. So how did the Coach Bert thing come to play? I know you guys, he's been on your show a couple times, and obviously both here prominent in Nashville, but, that had to be some type of catalyst that started that.
Yeah, so Coach and I had been running around and knowing each other for quite some time. I think so much of him and what he does, why he does it, and how he does it. But we're sitting at a Christmas party at Brad Lea's Nashville home, December 22nd, 2023, as a matter of fact. And he's telling me about the Greatness Factory, and I literally looked at him. I was like, with Coach, we're literally looking to expand upon the Hit Lab, and we're going on the south side of town, and it's going to be about 10 times the size of what we got. And he said, "Well, tell me about that." And I told him, and from there he said, "Well, tell me how. Would you mind telling me basically how you're going to generate the revenue and what the business model looks like? Because at the Greatness Factory, they've got unbelievable level 10 spaces." And I guess the agencies he was talking to, they hadn't quite figured out, showed him how he would make money doing that. And if you've been in this space long enough, you've seen a lot of studios come and go, especially in the podcast space. It can be challenging if the business model's not right from jump, right? So basically, one thing led to the next. I told him I just really love to look at it. And I went down there on December 27th, 2023. And saw the space and was blown away. And basically we talked more, and he said, "Would you be interested in helping out around here?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would." So that's literally how it happened. Was at a Christmas party at Brad Lea's Nashville home last year.
I love it. Well, a big thing for me is the collaboration that happens, the energy that comes from, different minds looking at things differently, but at the same time, all being motivated. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's wonderful. Just so many great things come from events like that. And
yes, sir.
Just great minds being in the same space.
There's enough to go around. And actually something I learned from Brad when he launched Lightspeed is Lightspeed was basically the byproduct of him going in to dealerships and whatnot and running into his competition, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Zig Ziglar's estate, and so on and so forth. And he made a better mousetrap that they all needed. Now they're all collaborating and working together, and now Brad is in all those spaces, even if he's not, right? So
yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
I love it. That's great, man. Just plugging it in and picking up speed.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that, a lot of your shorts are on, obviously it's just a big part of your world, is confidence. Mm-hmm. And so give me your outlook or your theory on confidence.
Well, I'm a big fan of Coach Prime, and he talks about his confidence a lot. I heard that it was actually, maybe it was Coach Bert. We were talking one day, and we were talking about confidence. But I'm a client of brand builders, and the first day I met with them. They said, "What's the one word problem you solve?" And I thought for a minute, and I was like, "Faith." It's like, what does that mean? I was like, well, faith is your faith in yourself. It's a form of confidence, So confidence is the memory of previous success, right? And you control your own thoughts. So if you don't have the ability to remember previous success, you're probably not a confident person. But for me, it's a reflection of your faith, at the end of the day. So and confidence is a skill. You got to get good at it. You got to practice it. And it's amazing what, if you're confident in yourself, other people might be confident in you as well. But the one thing I do know is they won't be confident in you if you're not confident in yourself. They're probably going to mirror it, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think just in the world in general, not only do a lot of people tear each other down, but a lot of people tear themselves down, whether it's through self-deprecation or just not believing in themselves.
That there's a key word in there, believing in yourself, right? So when you believe something, right, it means that there's some trust earned there, right? So what do you trust? Something that you've heard one time or multiple times. The media is really good at that, about getting you to believe something that's not necessarily true. So again, repetition is required to build trust, right? To build a belief in anything, right? And then just like your confidence. So if confidence is a form of belief in yourself, well, again, there's that repetition is really, really key.
Absolutely. Well, and surrounding yourself with people who think that same way.
Absolutely. Proximity is everything, man.
Especially at home. Now, you've got one heck of a support system. Tell me a little bit about the family.
My wife's the true superstar. The joke is, but it's the truth. My mom and grandmothers did a great job of raising me, but they got me to a certain point. My wife had to finish the job. She's incredible, and raising two kids with her is the gift of a lifetime. It's by far the greatest thing that God ever gave us, besides Jesus, was our kids. And my wife is she's that growing up. The most beautiful women, a lot of times they came with some baggage. Maybe they thought too much of themselves, or they just didn't have that kind, big, sweet heart, or at least they didn't put that out there, And I think about that movie, The Mean Girls, My wife's the exact opposite of that. She's just an absolute knockout, but she has the big heart and is the exact opposite of like the Mean Girl syndrome. You know what I mean? So raising kids with her, and our son is the exact replica of her. Our daughter is the exact replica of me, and just teaching them, it's so hard not to want to do everything for them when actually your job is as a parent is to prepare them for life, and you can't prepare them by anything by doing it for them. So on one hand, you want to do nice things for them and give them everything, but the thing you should give them is the knowledge, so that they can get hit less when they grow up on their own and they're out so that way life's going to knock you down. But man, if you're prepared for that punch and you can brace for it, it doesn't knock you back as far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the ones that sticks out in my head is, and maybe it's a Jordan Peterson or whoever's quote. It says, "Don't interfere. In fact, encourage when your children are doing dangerous things safely."
Yes, and it's so nerve-wracking, the first time when they want to go up them stairs. But again, if you raise them, your program, a child's mind is 100% like a sponge. It's subconscious for like the first 7 years, and they're building up all their beliefs, and then it's reaffirmed in 7 to 14, right? So, a lot of the fears that I have, like I'm deathly scared of snakes. Couldn't tell you why. A snake's never done anything to me. I've never even really I've had a couple of encounters with snakes, but that's because I had a roommate that had about 25 of them in our apartment when we lived together. That was what he did for a living. So, but no, man, it's life is just an amazing time, and every single day is a gift, and it's sometimes it's hard to realize that. But again, as raising kids, man, your job as a parent is to prepare them for what's coming next. I'll tell you a funny little story about my son. I've told it a couple times, I think. It was the first time he learned to ride his bike. Took the training wheels off. All right, so he had that first one where the Strider, I think it's called, where without the pedals. And then he had the training wheels, and we took training wheels off. And we finally got him going. And it wasn't 20 feet after I let go, he wiped out. And it was on the street, and it was ugly, dude. There was road rash, blood everywhere, like literally like dripping, like a faucet. And he got up, and he was pretty upset, and instead of cleaning him off, getting him back on that bike as soon as possible was so key, right? And, so my wife freaked out a little bit. I'm like, get up, get back on that bike. Dude, come on, you can do this. Get back on that bike. I don't want to do it. I can't. Get on that bike. Rhiannon, trust me, so he gets back on that bike and literally like just blood's dripping down his feet onto the road and everything else. And within, 30 seconds of him pedaling and going around the cul-de-sac, there wasn't no more fear. He didn't care that he was bleeding. It was like, as a matter of fact, we had to say, hey, dude, let's clean you up for a second and you can get back on it, So as a parent, you got to just, if you raise them to be fearful, that's what they're going to be. And courageous is the word that I want my kids to be. I want them to be courageous and brave,
And resilient.
Absolutely.
So that when they do get knocked down, they know on the other side of getting knocked down, they can find that triumph.
Yeah. How many fearful people are resilient? Can you be resilient if you're scared?
I don't think so.
I don't think you can either. My wife taught me a lot about how much words mean, as a former pro athlete. It was a locker room 24/7 in my life, and what came out of my mouth was locker room talk. And it took me a long time to understand how harmful that was, because it was not. The reason it was harmful was because I could not articulate how I actually felt about people, and especially people that I cared about.
Yeah.
And so again, I've learned so much from her. It's been amazing.
Well, being a spouse, being a parent, none of those things come with an owner's manual.
Nope.
In either direction. You didn't come with an owner's manual. She didn't come with an owner's manual. We all go through that, and we have to grow up into the person that we're supposed to be.
Your kid's character is a reflection of you, but not their personality. Yeah. Okay, so like that was something that like my son is better than me. And every generation does need to get better, right? So that's really important. Like I expect him to outperform me in all levels of life. And that's what we're raising him to do. But man, like they are like, he's totally different than me. And for a long time, I wasn't secure enough in myself to allow him to do that. I wanted him to do like I did, be like me. No, he's like himself. And my job is to make sure that his faith's in line. Right, his belief system's in line, and that he's a courageous person. So, and that's what is a reflection of me, not his personality and what he likes. If he likes a crazy type of music, go for it, dude. It's not a reflection of me, and it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, we're there to help solidify and build the foundation.
Yep.
And then it's up to them to take it on.
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
That's fun. I don't know about you, but the most fun thing that I do in life is being a dad.
Oh, I can't wait to go home today. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait. I'm already looking forward. I know that we're going to do some. It's time to measure where he's at now so that we can measure all his work in the off season. For baseball, we're doing the same thing with his music. And then we get to cap off the evening after chasing my daughter around the yard a little bit. She's potty training, and we're on day 3 right now. We had some success this morning, so we had some celebrations.
Good.
And but tonight I get to end the night after we get her to bed, and there's some stuff on MLB The Show that Ethan's got to show me. So, dude, every time he says, "Hey, Dad, can I show you something?" I'm just like, "Yeah, you can." And man, that's so cool that he asks. Because one day he might not.
There will be a day, and I count down the days. They say you spend roughly 19 years with your kids, because the first 18 they're in your home, and the equivalent of the rest of their life equates to roughly a year of them.
That's right.
And it just seems like that clock is ticking.
It's going fast, and I'm even starting to notice now, he's 15, excuse me, that he's got his own peers and social life and whatnot. So like after 16, then all of a sudden, like you think of the 4th of July, is there going to be other plans versus what we normally do on 4th of July or day after Christmas, or he's just got all these things that he wants to do. Jim, the thing that I'm really pushing him the most right now is like, seriously, like I asked him straight up, dude, for a long time he wanted to be a rock star. And, so we gave him every opportunity to do that. He's still really good at those things, and he still has dreams to be involved in that to some degree, but he got the baseball bug at age 12, and he's obsessed with it now. And straight up, dude, what do you like? You're never going to get anywhere if you don't set an accurate small goal, like very, very precise. So what do you want to do when you get older? He's like, I want to play center field for the New York Yankees. I'm like, all right, dude. So I can tell you right now, I know a lot of people. I know 0 people that played center field for the New York Yankees, which means the 99 versus 1% rule. I'm like, dude, that matters more than anything to you now, because that is like, of all the sports franchises, it's the most decorated one, it's the most famous one, it's the most known one. So that's the one that most people would want to play for in this sport. So I'm always reminding him, every choice you make is either taking you towards that goal or away from that goal. And I'm talking like when you go into the gas station, instead of getting like a bottle of water, did you get a big old soda? Like, everything is going to be a factor at some point in time. And that's the hardest thing to do, is like, all of his friends are going to do one thing and he wants to go do it. I'm like, hey man, are they going where you're going? You got to ask yourself that. And then whatever you decide is up to you. But know that how we support you is going to be based on a reflection of those decisions. Because it's expensive. A lot of time and money and everything else goes into his dreams. So as long as he's dreaming big, but his actions are in line with those dreams, then there's nothing that I won't do to help him get there, or make sure he has what he needs to get there. But like, that's the biggest challenge, is the more distractions from that goal that come about with his friends driving and this and that and Friday nights and Saturday nights and all those things. I can tell you what I do Saturday nights, and it's not what most people do my age,
Right. Well, and you can't take it more serious than he does.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
You also can't want it more than him.
No. And that's hard.
It is, especially as a parent, because, we want the best for them. Sometimes we think we know exactly what that is, but their path is supposed to be their own.
Come on.
That's good.
That's
good. So you start the podcast studio a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. What was your vision then versus your vision of it now?
So, in 2020, a lot of stuff was changing, and when the insurance industry, which was where we spent the majority of our time back then, was the business model that we operated under was a brick and mortar, get everybody together and conquer the world. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden everybody was sent home, and we realized there was a big technology gap that we did not have, and it made some things hard, but it also opened up our eyes and made us start learning a lot of things. I met Brad Lea in 2020, and he was kind enough to invite me out to his place in Vegas and to be on his podcast. And at the time, I thought podcasts were a little bit stupid. I thought it was bad radio or bad TV. I really didn't understand the purpose of them, because I hadn't explored them very much. I didn't listen to any back then. But I saw his setup, and I saw the audience that he had. And then the moment that episode dropped, like literally over 30 days, I think I got like 10,000 new followers on Instagram. And I was like, holy cow, I was wrong. There's something here. We got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And so I came home, and my buddy Lance Wascom, who's a founder of AVLX, him and I coach our son's baseball team together, and have even back then. We were carrying ball buckets to practice one day, and I just got back, and I said, hey, buddy, I need you to build me a podcast studio. And he goes, okay. And then I showed him videos of Brad's, and I said, now here's the catch, it's got to fit in this little tiny room, and there is no control room. And he was like, whoa. And I was like, and I can spend $10,000. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay. And it took him a while, and they came back and said, hey, I think we figured it out. Because I'm like, I need the cameras to switch on their own. I need all this to happen, He said, we can do it, but you can either spend $10,000 and do it your way, or you can do it the way we recommend, but it's going to be a lot more money than that. I was like, well, okay, well, why would I spend more? He said, well, we can service if you do it the way that we believe is right. We won't service if you don't, and you're going to have a lot of problems out of that. And if you do it our way, we'll service it. And I've only had to call him like once in like 3.5 years. So that led to that. I built it all for me. Yeah. And then, but once people saw it, they started asking if they could use it. And when we built all this stuff again, remember I was trying to create sources of content for insurance agents to be able to reach new customers. So I built this for me with the, thinking I'm going to build this mountaintop for my people to scream from, And a lot of things changed and things evolved, and we moved on to some other things, and now that turned into what's now an agency known as the Hit Lab. So we've partnered up with some great people like Central Coast Creatives, Eagle Eye Experience, among a few, and taking the world by storm, baby.
I love it. What do you think is your most pivotal moment, life to date?
That's an unbelievably awesome question. And most pivotal moment for me was the day that my wife and I joined a church and joined the church and got married same day. We had been engaged since before my son was born. All right, now he's 4.5 years old. We're still not married. Why? Because I couldn't afford to marry her, and I couldn't afford the wedding and all those things. So we were putting it on hold, and we got a new pastor at the church we were at the time. And I fell in love with that guy, and he changed my life. And one day we were talking about recommitting our family, our faith to the church. And I said, hey man, like, would you be cool if I married her too when we're up there? And he was like, yeah, you want to talk to her about it first? I'm like, no, I want to surprise her. And he was like, really? I videoed, I was still had all my nightclub stuff. So from back that industry, so had all my DJ gear. So I literally recorded this awesome thing where as soon as we joined the church and we turned around, everybody clapped, they were going to push play on this soundtrack that I had made that was me talking with all this cool stuff. It was like a little clip from The Wedding Singer on the airplane, with Billy Idol and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And basically I re-asked her to marry me right there on the spot. And, Roger was like, well, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So we turned around and he married us right there. That was by far the day that truly changed my life because that was when we really got things in working order. But Roger met us there. You walk out center aisle, and somehow, so we're facing the crowd, and he's behind us. Somehow he beat us to the front. Still don't know how he did that yet. But when he did, he met us at the front door, and he hugged us and said, guys, congratulations. He's like, but I got to tell you one more thing. There's two sides to this story, and everything you did is aimed at the good. Well, the bad's going to try to lure you back. Everything that can go wrong is probably going to go wrong. Get ready. Your faith is going to be tested. Mm-hmm. Your faith in each other, your faith in God is going to be tested. And sure enough, it was. But he said that, and I've always remembered that. And I know now that sometimes God has to remove things from your life to make room for the next thing. I know now that the beginning of one thing is hidden in the end of something else, right? And I know now that all the a lot of the struggles that we have, or all the struggles we have, are so we can be astounded by joy. It's preparation for what's next. So when you're going through those tough times, you got to understand you're being seasoned and prepared for something. Just like as an athlete, working out in the off season sucked, and I was always trying to achieve new levels of pain and struggle to overcome. Dude, that's life, and you got to do that.
Yeah, it's that old saying that these things happen for us, not to us.
Absolutely, 100%.
And a lot of times what we have in our head, or the plan that we had. God, that's not God's plan.
That's right.
And when he changes it on you, or when that change happens, sometimes it's difficult to let go of what you thought you were headed toward.
I'm not a quitter. Mm-hmm. I'm a finisher, right? But sometimes knowing when you're finished, I didn't quit baseball. I finished it. Mm-hmm. Okay. But a lot of times quitting and finishing, it's hard to tell the difference. You got to make sure that you've left it all on the field when that time comes, So, so anytime I'm around quitters, I run for the hills, get as far away from it as I can. But boy, show me a finisher and let's do lunch. You know what I mean? Let's do something together.
Well, because you're going to learn from both of them.
Yes. And
you have to decide, which one do I want to learn from? If you let those negative people in your life, it's just, you're going to learn negativity.
100%.
And same thing with our kids. We have to not just give them the foundation, but challenge them to recognize that negative energy and to remove themselves from it.
Absolutely. And, it's almost like you need 10 positive reinforcements within yourself to balance out the one negative. And, we don't get that. And I'm like, if you put negative and positive on a scale and they weigh the same, I believe that the positive wins. Okay. So I'm always telling people, just make sure for every negative thought or negative, anything negative that you think about yourself or want to fix about yourself or anything, give yourself, balance it with saying, I need to improve this, but I'm grateful for this.
Yeah.
And just give yourself an opportunity to have balance, because if you have balance, literally, that's like going back to old Mr. Miyagi stuff. Balance is the center of everything, right? If you give yourself balance in that, like you see life through a totally different lens, totally different lens.
So, life is probably way different today than when you were, say, first starting out, had a vision for your life. What do you think is one of the biggest kind of knockdowns you had that you had to pick yourself up and decide to charge forward and push?
Well, one, wait is a 4-letter word. Okay, so I had to remove that from my vocabulary. As an athlete, my job was to perform so that somebody would offer me a spot in college, at the pro level, whatever it may be. Okay, after baseball, like let's just say I would go to church and I'd watch the pastor do his thing, and I thought, I should be up there. I'd go hear a keynote speaker. I should be up there. See somebody perform at the Super Bowl. I should be up there. But I wasn't. And I kept waiting on somebody to come tell me, hey, you should be up here too. Or you should be doing this. And what I figured out was I probably sat there and waited on somebody to come tell me I should be doing something for 10 years. And I realized that it's up to me to make it happen. So that, built my own studio so I can have my own show. I'll build my own place so I can have my own stage. I realized that nobody's going to do it for me. It's up to me to do it. And the other thing too is like, as an athlete, by me performing, I was asking for the next promotion or the next spot. What I was doing in life after that, I wasn't asking for what I wanted. I expected people to just know. And then when they didn't give it to me, I was offended by it. Like, screw that. How dare they not offer me that spot? So what I've learned to do is turn everything around. Everything's my fault because that's the only way I can fix it. So guess what? There's a couple of events happening in my hometown in 2024, and they didn't ask me to be a part of it. So on one hand, I was like, those jerks. And then I turned right around and I was like, well, all right, well, what I obviously didn't, maybe they don't know that I would want to be a part of it. Maybe I didn't do my part. I didn't give them what they needed for them to know that. Because I point blank didn't ask them, that's for sure. Yeah. And if I had, what would have changed? Brad Lea taught me that when we were talking about getting, on my podcast, a lot of people pay to be on that. I get paid to speak in front of people. And I remember when I first started getting $5,000 to do that, which was good money. Brad, at the time was getting 50. He said, you know why I get 50 and you get 5? And I was like, because you've been doing it longer? He goes, no, because I asked for 50 and you asked for 5. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't get any dates that I didn't ask for growing up. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
So it's crazy. You gotta ask for it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the confidence piece. Mm-hmm. But it also, I think of your transition between baseball and just the regular world, the rule or the way that game is played is different.
Yes.
You were playing the game correctly in baseball. Mm-hmm. By performing. That's how you got the opportunity.
Yeah. Because
people were scouting for that. People were looking for that. Not that people aren't looking for people in business, but the rules of engagement are different.
Yes, and the rules of engagement are the rules of engagement. That is the rules in which you're playing, dude, and like I suggest you compete with those same things. What's the old saying? Don't take a knife to a gunfight. You know what I mean? God made all of us 100% unique. We all should want to leave this place better than we found it. We all should want to help everybody else and find joy in that. And anytime I ever go into dark places, it's usually because I catch myself not being happy enough for even my competitors. This world is huge, and there's so much to go around. And if you're not happy with your current situation, dude, that's 100% on you, and only you can change that. And I understand we're groomed. We're told when and where to be and for how long for the first 18 to 25 years of life. And that's the hardest thing to do is taking ownership of your time. As a matter of fact, think about all the most successful people in the world. They all do a few things differently and better than all of us. And the one thing is we all get the same 24 hours in a day, and I would say that they're more productive with theirs than we are. The most successful and skilled people in the world are I would say they're the best at managing their own time, so that, Brad told me one time, he said, Nick, I build businesses. He's like, I like to sit around and chit chat. So I build businesses that allow me to do that. And I'm like, I've been building businesses to work my butt off this whole time. Maybe there's a better way.
Right.
And growing up, middle class, we didn't focus on money a lot back then. And money is a great scoreboard, to understand how you're doing and whatever it is that you're doing in the professional world. I heard a keynote speaker one time say your impact on this world is when you take your God-given gifts and apply it to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So even my dad were working on this big baseball development together, and we're reminding each other, hey, man, this is a business, and we need to make sure that we're focusing on the revenue and protecting our investors every bit as much as we're talking about the baseball or whatever it is that's going on there. So a lot of times I'll get hung up in the semantics or the operations of it and forget the purpose of those operations, and that's the most important piece, right? So as a leader, that's really important to understand that, one, that you've cast that vision and you keep putting it in front of everybody. Now, that's one of the things you're so great at. And that's something I still have to work on today.
Well, I think that is one of the things that a lot of people lose sight of is they think that everybody knows what the mission is. They think that everybody knows what's going on. And, at least in my past, one of the reasons why I excelled was because everybody in the company heard it from me. Yeah. This is what we're doing. This is the mission every single month. And if you're not in business, if you don't run a profitable business, you're not around to help people. Mm. And so, even in this baseball venture, you're 100% correct.
That's right.
It's got to make money so that it stays here.
That's right.
So that it can continue to help people.
Well, we want to help people and create jobs, and you can't do that if there's no revenue and money to pay them with. But like, not everybody can be the shortstop. Not everybody can be the CEO of the company. Not everybody can be the leader. Not everybody can be self-employed. But like there's certain people. Tim Corbin's a great example of somebody that's like just an unbelievably great person, but dude, when it's time to compete, ruthless. Okay, and like, dude, you're that way. Like you're not somebody I'd want to see across the sidelines. But at the same time, when you're not playing, there's nobody that has a bigger heart and will care more than you will. And that dude, that's who makes the greatest leaders. Not, some drill sergeants, and some people are tough, and I'm one of those tough leaders. I'm learning how to be that other style, let's say, or that other way of doing it. Because like, dude, you make everybody around you feel better all the time.
Appreciate that.
But dude, when in a competition, I also know you're going to win. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And dude, that's if you're looking for somebody to follow, find somebody like that.
Well, my CPA has a great saying. I don't know if it's hers or if she got it from somebody else, but she says, my success is not dependent upon somebody else's failure. Mm. And in the marketplace, there's enough to go around. Now, yes. That doesn't mean we don't compete, but there is plenty to go around. If you are bringing value to the marketplace, it will reward you. Yes.
The world is such a large place. It's massive. We can't even really truly understand. I haven't even seen the whole place yet.
Right.
I haven't even left. I've only been to like 3 continents out of the 7. There's 7, right? Yeah, there's 7. They haven't changed that on us yet, have they? Right. Okay, there's still 7. But I've only seen 3 of them. There's 4 left, and there's billions of people in those 4. So I need to go see them sometime. Maybe I can do business over there. Maybe I can help people. Maybe I can make an impact.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Well, and you have to choose to. It's not like they're going to come over and invite you. It's no different than your speaking engagements. You got to make yourself available to them. Because, just like you might not have reached out to them in previous years, you might not have reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Sometimes they have a fear of reaching out to you. Like, oh, he's too big or he's too busy or something of that nature, and it's just a failure to communicate.
Yes. Most people, I would say, this is my opinion, okay? But I find out that how I see myself, other people see me in a much larger, much bigger light. Okay, and I would venture to say that there's a lot of people out there like that. So when you assume somebody wouldn't want to take your call or whatever, you're forgetting to consider how do they feel about themselves. Right. So I'm still grateful with every phone call that I get, every opportunity that's presented to me. because, I understand my value and what I'm worth, but there's still that, also know I'm very aware of all my flaws, and all my shortcomings, even though they may be in a skeletons in the closet somewhere. So people, and everybody has those, and how much rent, and space that's taken up in one's own mind, you don't know. You just don't know.
Well, I always look at it too, like if I've got that doubt or I've got that moment, I try to reframe it and say, I'm going to give them the opportunity to know me, or I'm going to give them the opportunity to say yes.
That's right.
And I think you just have to put yourself out there.
100%. I mean, what do you got to lose? You didn't bowl that perfect game by accident. You know what I mean? And nobody's won a championship on accident either. I definitely didn't accomplish anything I've accomplished by accident. I might have stumbled upon an opportunity by accident, but I still had to go out there and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So circling back to the money piece of it, a lot of families, especially middle class, where, maybe the parents didn't own a business or whatnot, money's not talked about enough, in my opinion, at home. How big a role does that play around the dinner table or, with the kids?
It's so literally like when my son was like 12 years old, he read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for teenagers. Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life. Growing up at the time that I did, everybody that was on the world stage, or not everybody, but a lot of the folks that, the people villainized people with money. They villainized the money. And all money is, that I've learned, is it's just it's a tool, and it just basically amplifies whoever you are. If you're a good person, you're probably going to be a great person with more money. If you're a bad person, you're probably going to be a worse person with more money. Money just creates opportunities, and it's a shame. Like, man made money, but man didn't make the earth, right? So but man's money dictates how we leverage and utilize our time on this earth. And that just seems silly to me, right? So growing up, you have a report card in school. And, and so you've got grades, and that decides how you're doing in school. And I get one of my, and a lot of the keynotes, I'll ask the folks out there, what kind of grades you make? I was a A student. That's awesome. So what kind of grade you making now? Well, none. I'm not in school. All right. Well, if your bank account's your report card, what kind of grade you making? That's usually when everybody goes, oh, they got me on that one. Again, money's very abundant, and it changes hands when problems are solved. But it's literally everywhere. And if you want to know where money is, it's in everybody else's pockets. And you just got to figure out how to give them value or a service or a good to get them to trade money for that.
Absolutely. And so how do you have that discussion with your 15-year-old? So Ethan's, he's at that age. He's figuring it out. He's got some goals. He's trying to figure out what the long-term play is. How do you explain that to him?
Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to understand the language of money. So, we go to here when I was in school, we had English, but we were forced to learn another language, in Spanish or French. You got to choose Latin, whatever it was. It would have been cool if money was one of those. Money's a language, and I heard former President Trump say in an interview the other day that the tax system is crazy, complicated, and diverse, and we're making decisions based off sound bites about who we want to elect in office and stuff, when we really don't know anything about what it is they actually do. Like, we don't understand the tax system, we don't understand all those things, and so when you, like, it was amazing. I hired a great CPA, love her. She's been with us forever, and she's always teaching me new things. And it's like, man, I wish I'd have known that 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So again, most folks, like, Jensen's a bright young man over there. I've asked him multiple times, how much you know about money? Not a lot. Okay, so how can you ever expect to have a lot of it if you don't understand it? And if you can't be good at it? Again, making money is a skill. Managing money is a skill. And 2023 was the first year that my wife and I made more money not working than we did working. Folks, that is life-changing, and that's what I'm talking about, and everybody needs to experience that once.
I love it. That's fantastic. And, that wasn't on accident. You had to take very deliberate steps in order to get there.
Jim, at 35 years old, I did not speak money. And that was very relevant in how much of it that I had, how I managed it, and how much I made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I turned 44 this year. Dude, you can change your entire life in 5 years.
Yeah.
Your entire life. I lost 50 pounds and learned how to make and manage 7 and 8 figures worth of money. All in 5 years. First 35, couldn't figure it out. The next 5 after that changed everything. Right. So again, but it was what I was consuming, but it was on purpose. There was less TV shows, less sporting events that I watched, and more time watching videos about people who knew a lot about money and reading books about money.
So was there something that happened at 35 that was that key moment of, you know what, I have not spent enough time becoming a student of money and how it works and how my net worth goes up and how that changes not just my life but my family's?
Unbelievable question. So yeah, the day that changed was I read Think and Grow Rich, and then The Strangest Secret. And then The Strangest Secret, there's that exercise with the index card where you write 10 of the easiest things you can do 30 days in a row and so on and so forth. Well, over that time, my wife and I realized that we were the problem. And that was at 35, 2015. That's the year that my wife and I's dreams collided and started going in the same direction. And all of our dreams needed a certain amount of currency to be able to achieve those dreams, to do what we wanted to do, see the places we wanted to see, provide our kids. Like, Brad said something a long time ago. A lot of people have picked on me for this, but in this town, if you make $250,000 a year, you can make all the decisions you need to make you can basically live in the zip code you need to, in the county you need to live in. You can send your kids to the school that is best for them. You can eliminate making subpar decisions based on money. If you remove money from the equation, where would they go to school? Where would you live? How would you act? How would you live out your life? Right? So once you know what that is, then apply the money factor to it, and then go figure out how to make that money. Right? So that 2015 was life-changing for us because that was the day that we decided we're going to do this together. And then now we were locked in arms and we were unstoppable from that moment forward. You know what I mean? And anytime we ever get in any, relationships are up and down, they take work. It's because anytime my wife and I have any rough months, we can go back and look that we didn't talk about our dreams as much as we did those other months. We didn't sit down and talk about our finances. Those things got kicked to the back of the line, and look what happened. So the discipline portion was incredibly important in that.
One thing that I see is if you're intentional about it and you're having those conversations, when you get to a certain net worth or you get to a certain debt freedom or however you want to look at that, a lot of the everyday problems, a lot of the problems that a lot of people have just kind of wash away. Mm-hmm. And now you're not dealing in the drama that is just normal for most people. And now you can actually focus on the things that really matter.
I can remember growing up, back to school, it was the rush to get to Walmart or Kmart for school supplies and back to school clothes and shoes. And then literally this morning I had a doctor's appointment and school just started back this week when we're shooting this today. And so I pulled up my GPS. All right, I need to leave 33 minutes prior, so I'll give myself 35. It took 47 minutes to get there because I went through 4 school zones. You know what I mean? And the whole time I'm sitting in this traffic, I'm looking at all these people, and I'm like, a long time ago, I realized I was like one of those sheep just in line, and I was like, dude, there's more to life than this. I don't have to choose this. I don't like this, so I'm just going to do different. And I removed traffic from the equation. We built this office because I got tired of sitting in the car for an hour and 15 minutes one way, going to and from our office for those years. So I paid my dues so that we could have something on this side of town so that I could get that time back. You know what I mean? So, because it was robbing my kids, robbing myself, it was literally 600-700 hours a year of just wasted time sitting in the car. So there's only so many podcasts I could listen to. There's only so many phone calls I could make. It sucked looking at brake lights. Missing things. And so it just, literally I was reminded of that this morning as I'm sitting here looking at everybody. I wanted to help every single one of them in their car. Is this really how you want to live? Is this it for you? Is this and if not, for how long?
Well, I think they're in this mode of where they don't think outside the box. They're in this rut. Mm-hmm. And, whether you're winning or losing, the difference between a rut and a groove is success.
Yes.
So you can get used to either one. Mm-hmm. I'd much rather get used to winning.
You mentioned thinking outside the box. Every box that you're in, you put yourself there, folks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that box, you built it, man, so you can knock it down.
That's right. You have the ability to get yourself into it or out of it.
That's right.
It's up to you. Along the way, do you have any mentors that really just spoke into your life? I know you mentioned Brad Lea and kind of, that started the podcast side of things. But anybody else that you think is just like, that?
I've had, first of all, there's been some great folks that I've worked with along the way. My parents, my wife is a mentor. My kids are even mentors. I learn from my kids. But I played for unbelievable coaches mm-hmm. in the sporting world. And I'm still living out lessons they taught me as a child, teenager, and young adult. But probably somebody who's had one of the most drastic, life-changing effects on me was Pastor Roger Patton. That pastor that married us that day, still one of my best friends to this day. Somebody who's out in California now, fulfilling his mission. Somebody that I still keep in touch with. His wife's a phenomenal CEA. You can't have her, but that's our CPA. Mm-hmm. And that moment that changed our life that I referenced before. Again, that wouldn't have happened without him. So he's had one of the largest effects on life. But obviously, you can't mistake parents, man. Mom, dad, mm-hmm. even step parents. They're just amazing people. In-laws, gosh, my in-laws have been unbelievably supportive.
That's great.
Yeah, so blessed.
Favorite moment with your parents?
Favorite moment with my parents. Let's see. It would probably be a holiday. We actually found some old home videos that I'd never seen before. You don't have many of those. I've got 10 million videos of my kids, and there's hardly any of me growing up. But we found some from when I was like 10 or 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And the great little home that we had in Antioch, Tennessee, it was my mom's birthday. And her parents were over, and there was some family friends over. But basically, Pop had hid a bunch of her present was a lot of cash, mm-hmm. but he had hid it was a scavenger hunt that he had made. And I remember in that video, I was just following my mom around, uncovering, opening up the microwave and lifting up the plate, and there it was, lifting up the mattress, going in the bathroom and looking in the shower, wherever they were. And that was just a really cool moment. My parents were, my dad was always the coach. Mom was always the room mom. Mom was a stay-at-home mom growing up, so my house was where all the kids could come play. Yeah. She was the room mom at school. So literally to this day, around Christmas time, I'll get probably 5 to 10 people that I haven't seen in 30 years or longer will take a picture of a Christmas decoration that my mom handmade and gave them in like 4th grade, and it's signed by her and all those things. So my parents have always been very big-time leaders in the community, and that's still true today. And, if every generation gets better, then we got a lot of work to do.
I love it. That's good, man. That is good. All right, so we have this one semi-controversial part of the podcast.
Let's go.
It's things that we think but do not say. So what's something out there that, we're not looking to get anybody canceled, but at the same time, what's one of those things that maybe some people don't have the spine to say, but it's just true?
Well, Jesus is Lord would be my first thought. Okay. But Abraham Lincoln said it best: a house divided will not stand. Mm-hmm. So, there's a whole lot of finger pointing going on out there. And it's just gross. It's not, I don't talk about it that much just because I don't want to be exposed to that side of you when you want to come at me all crazy. And it's silly. As a kid, I can remember seeing the President of the United States talk a few times a year when he addressed the country, a few interviews and whatnot. Now it's, 800 clips a day. The politicians turned into a celebrity. Mm-hmm. And it's a service job. It's a service job, and it's a lot like being a deacon at church. There's not a lot of work and not a lot of reward. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to find some balance in that. But again, there's just so much divisiveness in how people are pointing fingers and turning people against each other. And all right, put it to you this way. Go back and watch the last presidential debate before 2016. I think it was Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Look how cordial and kind they were to each other. How, well, what we agree on is this. Here's just my take on it. Versus, you dumbass, or whatever it is they're going to do. So, and my wife and I have a lot of great connections through the National Prayer Breakfast. We're Tennessee delegates for that. And it's an amazing thing. But when we go to D.C. every February, we're that breakfast is there's more foreign countries there than there are, more people from other countries there than there are United States citizens. And the coolest thing when talking to those other folks is you get real perspective on how we are as a country and where we stand. And like their perspective versus what we think it really is I'm just telling you, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And they're, the stuff we're fighting about, they're just, their views are like, guys, you guys have it made, man. This is the United States of America. This is the place where dreams come true. What are you guys doing? You're tearing it apart.
Yeah.
So that would be my thing. I don't get into politics too much, but it's unfortunate.
Well, I think, the reality is if we really distill it down, we agree on more things than we disagree on.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of which side of the aisle you're on or if you're independent. Most of the things that we take for granted that we are not grateful for and we should show more, gratitude for, it's 90% of it or 80% of it, whatever that number is, we agree.
Absolutely. What sells right now is that divisiveness versus, not that long ago, the underdog was what sold, and there's news is there's good and bad news, but when you watch the news, you only get the bad portion, right? But again, a lot of times people would say, Nick, who are you voting for? I'm like, well, first of all, like it wasn't that long ago. You didn't say that out loud. That even husbands and wives didn't know. That was protection, right? So, but regardless, even if the person I voted for did not win, I want to support the person that did, and I need them to do a good job. Because my granddaddy used to say, Nick, shit rolls downstream. Yeah. Well, we're all downstream from the top. Yeah. And we need whoever gets into that office to do a dang good job, and we need everybody that's supposed to hold them accountable to do so. Right? So regardless, my job, in my opinion, as a citizen, of course, then both sides would argue with this, and I'll probably get roasted for saying this, but like my job is to be the best version of myself that I can be, make my community better. Start at home and expand out. So I want Nashville, Tennessee to be amazing, and anything I can do to help that, that's how I support the current candidate or current person holding that office, right? Even if I don't disagree or whatever else, but I need them to do a good job. Because when they do, that benefits all of us.
Yeah. It's that selfishly unselfish.
Yes.
I need you to selfishly support the president, whether it was your candidate or not.
That's right.
So that we are empowering them to get better. We're empowering them to be the best version of themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And dude, when you can do that, look how much greener the grass is and bluer the sky is, dude. The world's a more beautiful place when you can see the world through those eyes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, we touched on it a couple times, but your health journey. When did you make that commitment? When did you make that turn? And because obviously you were fit, you're playing baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Real deal. We're not talking about just local little league. Like you went up the chain.
Yes, I was in the top 1% in the world at baseball, especially at my position when I played. So my goal as a athlete, I wasn't always the biggest, strongest, fastest. So, but I would outwork you all day long. And that started in the gym. So my goal every time was to obviously achieve certain levels of strength for the game, but I wanted to make a statement the first time we went in the locker room and I took my shirt off. I wanted them to know, dang, that guy works, right? And I wanted them to remember me. So I always achieved that. And after baseball, I did that because I just worked hard. I didn't know a lot about it, but I worked hard, and because I worked so hard and was so active, a lot of the bad habits I had weren't relevant. And then after baseball happened, it was like a slow. I did not eat good food, didn't drink the right drinks, drank too much alcohol, and over the course of time, I put on like 50 pounds to the point where when I look at myself, I'm like, God, I don't even know how my wife could be attracted to that. She probably wasn't. And so it was over time. It was like we want to get better. So it was a recommitment. And then I realized about the time that we were always getting it to good enough and then stopping. We never truly achieved goals in fitness. And I realized that was happening in my faith and happening at work and everything else. It was just like the way you do anything is the way you do everything, that type of thing. And then we found out at 40, everybody knows the story about how we found out my daughter was coming because we were trying forever. And we were about to move on and literally like in the final stage of when we said, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. That's when we found out she was coming. And I was like, we're going to be just about to be 41 when she comes. And I was like, first of all, I didn't know when things would hurt, I didn't know if I was injured or if that's just how life is now, And, but I was like, she ain't going to have some old daddy. And I definitely ain't going to be mistaken for her granddaddy when we go anywhere. So I was like, this is a great opportunity to level up, take everything in life to the next level, including our fitness, and go from that 80% that we always get good enough at and stop to that 100%. And so that changed literally, like I'm drinking over here a Kale tonic, a drink that I would never have touched 10 years ago. It looks disgusting, but it's delicious. And it's amazing how good it makes you feel. The gum I'm chewing right now literally has nootropics in it, okay? Neurogum. It's fantastic. I recommend it for everybody. You just learn that there's all these God-given things on this earth that we are made to consume and that make us better, that make us feel better, perform better, and everything. And I learned that everything that I was eating was total trash. I learned that my habits were awful. I learned that sleep made a big impression on everything that you do. I just didn't, again, your health is another language, and I suggest you learn it. And if you're not happy with the way that you look or the way that you feel or your shape or whatever it is, well, dude, you're one of one. So again, you're eating and doing the same things that those other people are doing. Well, they're not you. So like you can get a genetics test, you can get blood work done and figure out what you should be eating. Like I found out there were some foods that I ate every day that caused massive inflammation. All right. And that inflammation came with a whole lot of side effects. And the moment I removed those things out of my diet, everything changed. So, dude, it's a journey. You got to get to know yourself. You got to love yourself enough to eat good, and drink good, and more importantly, like there was some. I do a little bit of yard work at home, and we have unbelievable landscaping, and my guy gave me some really awesome chemicals to help me out with the new flower beds we put in, where grass wants to keep trying to grow back. And literally, like, so Mom lets the dogs out, and she sees me out there spraying, and she's like, oh, we got to get the dogs in, because you're spraying chemicals out there. I'm like, you're right. They can come back in 30 minutes when it's dry. Well, then I'll go inside, and she'll literally be giving her granddaughter a piece of candy. It's got that same chemical in it. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, Mom, let me show you something. Show her the back of the chemicals. Show her the back of the candy. And I was like, same thing. She was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like, trust is earned. Why? Because it's been put in front of you so long. Like, we don't even question what we put in our bodies anymore or where it came from. My son was at the Williamson County Fair the other night, and I was appalled by something that we saw because, like, I was like, oh, my gosh, I haven't taught him enough. Mm-hmm. He's literally sitting there on the grass hill eating a snack and a drink with a friend. And a kid that they didn't know walks up and pours lemonade in his buddy's drink. And my son was the first one that took a sip of that. And I was like, bro, he was like, yeah, it was lemonade. I was like, how did you know? He was like, well, I tasted it. I was like, but what if it was something else? Yeah. I was like, dude, you realize most of the kids that go to the hospital for something like this, they consumed it thinking it was something else. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like even in public, you don't leave an open drink. You take it with you because people come by. It's very dangerous. So as a parent, I was like, oh man, he's not prepared yet. We got more work to do. You got to be really relevant or aware of what you're putting in your bodies, and understand it. Like, preserve it. Your body's not made to preserve things; it's made to break it down. So if you're putting preservatives in, it's probably not good. Yeah. It's probably not a good thing.
Well, there is that old saying that food is medicine, but I think the opposite is what we need to be talking about. Not only can food be medicine, it can also be poison.
What's the saying? If it didn't grow on earth and have our mother, you probably shouldn't put it in your body.
That's right.
But again, I thought I could just work out because at young I could work out and overcome all those things. And by the way, the ingredients were better back then. They've gotten worse.
Yeah.
But like, what I found out is I probably 80 to 85% of the journey is the nutrition, not the workout. Not what you do in the gym, it's what you consume. Yeah. Fasting changed my life, Jim. So I'm 55 pounds down from where I was at my worst. is life-changing, okay? I learned that I eat once a day, and that's at night. I don't get hungry. Today's a fun treat day because I get a little juice, right? So technically, I broke my fast, but my body don't. It breaks it down in a hurry, and it don't know the difference. But most days, I eat breakfast and lunch on like major holidays: Christmas, Thanksgiving, my birthday, and every once in a while on vacation.
Okay,
that's about it. But 350 days a year, I fast, and I only eat once.
Okay. So that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I do love fasting. Yesterday, I finished up a 65-hour fast.
Yeah, baby.
And, broke it with a nice steak and some eggs. And, much like you, well, actually mine's different in that I was always the big kid. I was never fit growing up. In fact, until after 40. And at 40, I had a moment where I realized that I was leading my team in the wrong direction. I was leading my family in the wrong direction, and lost a lot of weight. I was 305 at one point.
Wow.
And, I sit in front of you today at 221, 222.
Congratulations.
But fasting was a big piece of that.
Yeah.
So how did you come to the OMAD, or one meal a day? How did you figure out that was what was right for you?
It was a progression. So it started out, you only eat in an 8-hour window, and then 8 hours turned into 6 and 4, and then it just dialed all the way down until we didn't eat at all. And I had coffee. I have a nootropics supplement that I even put in my coffee, but I ate a lot of fruit. When I was in that window, I'd eat a lot. I learned that, man, my body loves fruit. I like literally drinking fruit juice right now. A swig of orange juice is like a shot of caffeine for me, especially if it's got pulp in it. You know what I mean? So, but I found out that fruit was like, it's nature's candy, and my body just performs extremely well with it. Yeah. It makes everything move the way it's supposed to move, and it's just and I love the taste of it. So, when I crave sweets, I crave fruit.
Another thing that I think is really kind of opens your mind is once you get kind of dialed in, well, then you can actually tell what different foods do to you. But while you're inflamed, you don't have a guide. It doesn't make a big enough difference. You just feel bad all the time.
Well, and again, look at pictures of a beach picture in the 70s versus now, and you see that we are significantly overweight. But even going back into, when we didn't have all the things that we have today, let's go back to the caveman. The caveman might not eat for days on end because it took him that long to find the food. Food wasn't always accessible. So the 3 meals a day, I don't even think that started until the 1900s sometime. You know what I mean? Because again, everybody's body is a little bit different. Like Mario Lopez is in great shape. He says he's one of those guys that never eats a meal. He just grazes all day. That's what works for him. So if what you're doing, the results aren't getting you there, then you're doing the wrong thing, and just try something else and keep trying new things until you find out what works for you. For me, if I stopped to eat lunch today, I just lost an hour or more. And the other thing is I will not be at peak performance the rest of the day. I figured that out real fast. So my favorite thing is when I get up in the morning and I get to do my little my routine with the lemon water and the good salts and electrolytes and all of my vitamins and nootropics and supplements and whatnot with that coffee. Man, I'm ready to go crush it. And then I pop me a little piece of gum in and go for my walk. They get my 2 to 3 miles in every day, no matter what. And then I'll get my weights in later.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal. What's one action item that you'd give somebody? This could be in business, it could be in health, whatever you think is the most important one that you could give a listener today that they could go and plug in and make their life better.
When I was sitting there all those years waiting for somebody to say, Nick, you should be up here, you should be up here, you should be up here. You got to have and you might even want to look in the mirror at yourself when you do this. All of us believe we're supposed to be doing something. It's in there. And the real question is are you going to take that and grow into that person and utilize it, or is it going to be something that my grandmother used to always say, you're going to be the president of the United States one day, right? And I never took it seriously, and I don't want to be. But she was right. Everything that we've done today, it was because I finally made a decision and found a way to believe in it. So my advice would be if you don't know why God put you here, you don't know yourself well enough. So get to know yourself, learn to love yourself, and be grateful for everything that you do have and that you can do. And then figure out how to make an impact, which is bring your God-given abilities to the marketplace. Okay? Money to us is the scorecard, right? So if people aren't willing to pay you for it, you haven't achieved the level that you're put here to do. So,
or you've picked something that doesn't really translate.
That's right. That's right. So get to know yourself, find out what it is that you're actually here to do, and then you've got to feed that. You've got to feed that confidence until it becomes who you are, and eventually it'll be what you're known for.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right, this is a little bit of a fun one. So I'm a bowler, hence the pin. Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, I bowled a 197 the other night. But it took me 3 games.
Where'd you bowl?
It took me 3 games.
Where'd you guys go?
Pastor Josh Heisman had some men from the church going out last Sunday night, and there's some stuff that we were going to talk about. He said, meet us at King's Bowl.
Oh, that's good. That's a good place.
So I went there and was so bad that we decided to all bowl left-handed the last game to make it fair. I don't know. I usually with anything with the ball, I can be really good at it. Yeah. And it's crazy that I just didn't take this ball and knock down those pins right over there. It was all direction. I couldn't get my direction right.
Yeah.
But I bowled a 197, but it took me 3 games.
Nice. I like it. I like it. All right. So for this exercise, you got to put together a bowling team.
Okay.
All right. This bowling team we're gonna be doing a charity event of some sort. So you want to have as many eyes on it, and you want to have a great time. Obviously, you want to be around people that you're gonna learn from, not necessarily bowling. So who are the other 4 bowlers that you're gonna bowl with, and you get to pick a commentator.
Well, first of all, Jim Cripps is on my team, no doubt. Jim Cripps is on my team. Then I'm going to go with Randy Huth because we got to be good, and my man ran bowling alleys.
That's right.
And I don't know a lot of other competitive bowlers, but I know people who are just good at stuff. So I'll throw Brad in the mix just because when we went golfing, he made some big time putts and hit some balls to the moon that we used in our group. So he just knows how to win. All right. And I get one more.
Yep.
I get one more. Let's see. I'm going to do, and I'm going to pick my wife because my wife's a better bowler than I am, right. But she makes everything better.
I love it.
So those are my 4. And the commentator,
to give the play-by-play.
Oh, dude, I'm getting Bob Uecker out of retirement. and it's going to be amazing.
I love it.
And if I had an alternate, I would go. I'd go Bill Murray just because of the movie Kingpin, which is one of my favorite all-time movies.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Bill Murray.
No,
I mean he's literally on my list of if I pick a team, he's there. There ain't no question in that. All right, best book you ever read?
Besides the Bible. Mm-hmm. All right, the Bible's number 1. Best book I ever read is the one. It's the one that I go back and read the most because I get something every single time. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Just love it. And there's so many things that you just got to remind yourself over and over and over again.
What's a piece of advice you'd give to somebody that's listening right now and they're struggling?
First of all of the struggles that you have outside of your body are, I believe, there's some mirror image within your body, right? So whatever it is that you're struggling with, it's probably because there's some missing piece of information or something that you don't know that you should that would eliminate that struggle. So first of all, get out of your own way. Get to know whatever it is that you're enough about what you're struggling with that you can start to build that skill set of confidence in it so that is no longer your struggle. What's the old saying? Take the worst part of your game and make it your best, and now you're a great player, right? Yeah. Dad always said, if I'm the worst musician in our band, we're going to be really good because I'm good. So, but whatever it is you're struggling with, the easiest thing to do, best advice, would be find the people that aren't struggling with that and surround yourself with those people because they've found a way to not struggle with whatever it is you're struggling with.
That's right. Good deal. What's the biggest problem you have in your business right now?
It's always going to be communication. Mm-hmm. All right. The best in anything are the best at automation and delegation. They're the best at getting other people, having a message that can be sent to the masses, whether it be staff, coworkers, clients, community people, whatever it may be, they're the best at automating that information and then delegating that information, right? So that's something that literally you're helping us out big time with right now. We finally got us a hero when it comes to specifically the automation, baby, because nobody's better than Jim Cripps. But the automation and the delegation, man, you got to. It's always going to be communication. We can always do better. Not one problem in history of mankind do we look back and say, that happened because they communicated too well.
That's right. That's right. All right. Last but not least, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as somebody that left everything that we touched better than we found it. I want to be remembered as somebody that faced all of my own demons, my own shortcomings head on, and through my faith was able to take those shortcomings and make them a strength, right? So my heroes professionally, I love Lewis House and what he does. I love even Mario Lopez, Ryan Seacrest, Bobby Bones, all those radio and TV personalities that do a lot. They're great interviewers and that do a lot of things. I love doing that. I love collaborating with people in that realm. So, professionally, I would love to go down as one of the greats in that space. But outside of that, he loved his Lord Jesus, and he put his family second behind Jesus, and then everybody else just was better for being around him. And I think that'd be pretty solid.
That's great. Perfect.
These are awesome questions, man.
Well, Nick, thanks so much for joining me in the studio. Thank you for providing such a wonderful place for us to do podcasts. It's been a joy.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for having me. And this is I'm really excited about this podcast, dude. You're going to change lives with it, no doubt. And we will be celebrating episode 1,000 before we know it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Well, team, you heard it here on the Charge Forward podcast. As always, I want to say special thanks to Nick Hyder and the Hit Lab Studios team here. And then also our sponsors, Charge Forward Solutions and Sense Custom Development. Until next time, we'll see you later. Team, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Charge Forward podcast. Look forward to other amazing guests. And until next time, I'm your host, Jim Cripps. Special thanks, as always, to Nick Hyder and the creative team at Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Special thanks to our sponsors, Sense Custom Development and Charge Forward Solutions. Please be sure to like and subscribe.